Here are 30 things I wish I knew before playing Diablo 4. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. First up, and this is mainly for keyboard and mouse players, is the Force Movement keybind. If you open up the menu and go to the Controls tab under Options, the Force Move input is found right under the skill slot keybinds. You can assign Force Move to any input you want. I used one of my extra mouse buttons. You can then use this button to move freely through combat environments even when you click on enemies. When playing a barbarian or rogue, you may want to assign specific weapons to be used with specific skills. All you need to do is open the Skill Assignment UI, it is the S keybind by default, and hover over the skill you want to assign a specific weapon for. Then cycle through to the equipped weapon you want to use. The main quests are great for the story of Diablo 4, but the best way to level is by defeating loads of enemies, and the best way to do that is by delving through dungeons and completing local events, which are outlined in red circles on the minimap. One way you can improve that flow of XP is by interacting with Campfires. This will give you the Inner Peace buff, which temporarily grants additional XP from defeating enemies. While trudging through dungeons, keep an ear out for the sound of stomping accompanied by rattling chains, as it's the only warning you'll get before running into the butcher.
I'm not ready yet.
A special and difficult boss that can be randomly encountered in many different dungeons. He is much tougher than regular elites and hits a lot harder than any other dungeon boss. If you and your party members manage to take the butcher down, you'll get a guaranteed legendary item as a reward. Just be careful, if the butcher wipes your party out, he will disappear and you'll need to wait for another random encounter to fight him again. If you ever walk past a legendary item, you can still see it on your map and it will pop up as an orange star. But if you miss a legendary item for any reason, don't worry too much. Legendary items that were not picked up will be transported to your stash in Kiovashad. Next to the stash is the wardrobe, where you can customize your appearance and transmogrify gear. When you salvage a piece of armor at the blacksmith that has the salvage icon near the top right of it, you will unlock that item as a new style to be used in transmogrification, along with getting resources that can be used for item crafting and upgrades. Back to the dungeons, you can leave at any time by clicking the dungeon entrance on the map. You can also leave the dungeon by using a command in the emote wheel. It's easy to reset a dungeon that you'd like to farm. Just go to the map in the open world and open the quest journal. At the bottom, you'll find the button to reset all dungeons. Emotes can have some cool interactions, like completing certain quests or solving puzzles. You can also pet the dogs in town with the hello emote, which will get them to follow you around. You'll likely run across a number of cursed shrines and chests while clearing dungeons. Interacting with them will start a local event where you need to clear waves of enemies, earning a reward at the end of it all. What you are more likely to miss are the cursed healing wells, especially if you aren't needing to heal often. Even at full health, cursed healing wells will still be activated when interacted with. So make it a goal to interact with all shrines, chests, and healing wells that you see, as the loot from the cursed events can sometimes include very rare items, such as scattered prisms, which are required to add gem sockets to your gear. Now let's talk about region progress. You can pull up the page for it by going to the map and pressing W on keyboard mouse. Activating waypoints, discovering areas, clearing strongholds and side dungeons, completing side quests, and activating altars of Lilith all award you with renown. The more renown you earn, the more of the rewards you earn up top. Some of these rewards can only be unlocked in World Tier 3 or higher. Some of the rewards earned, such as skill points and potion charges, are unlocked for all characters on a realm after being unlocked on one character, whereas other rewards, such as the bonus XP and gold, are unlocked separately for each character. This shared progress across characters also goes for the altars of Lilith. Altars of Lilith are scattered and hidden throughout each region. Each unique altar of Lilith grants a permanent 2-point boost to a core stat, such as strength, intelligence, willpower, or dexterity. This permanent boost is granted for all characters on the realm. While 2 points may seem meager, keep in mind that there are 28 altars of Lilith in the Fractured Peaks region alone, which adds up to a total boost of 56 points across all stats. This will make a noticeable difference even for high-level characters and will be especially nice to have on newly made characters. Here is a map that shows the location of all altars of Lilith in the Fractured Peaks region. Along with region progress, completing various player challenges like defeating a number of a specific enemy type will unlock prefix and suffix titles. These can be equipped by going to Inventory, clicking on Profile, then Edit. Select a prefix and suffix, then click Confirm to save it. Priority quests will show up in the quest journal at specific player levels or after completing certain campaign quests. Priority quests generally introduce the player to game mechanics that are newly accessible, such as upgrading potions, extracting or imprinting aspects onto items, or jewel crafting. However, while the priority quest at level 10 will introduce you to the alchemist and guide you through the first upgrade to your healing potions, there won't be additional priority quests at later levels, reminding you to go back to the alchemist for additional upgrades. So make sure to check back in with the alchemist occasionally to get the strongest potions. Probably the most important priority quests will be those that are specific to your character class. At levels 15 and 30, you will get a class-specific priority quest that unlocks a powerful feature for your class. For example, the Sorcerer gets the Legacy of the Magi priority quest at level 15. Completing it unlocks the Enchantment feature, which allows them to designate a specific spell to the enchantment slot, granting passive benefits that are specific to that spell. For example, when the Blizzard spell is put into the enchantment slot, every 15 seconds a blizzard will automatically spawn over you and follow you for 6 seconds. The features for each class are different, but they are all essential for a class to reach its true potential. Also, since we are here, take notice of the underlined terms in the descriptions for a skill or spell. Beneath the main skill box, you'll find smaller boxes containing grayed out text, which defines the underlined terms from the skill descriptions. Speaking of definitions, if you ever wonder what the difference between lucky hits, overpowered hits, or critical hits are, you can go to your inventory, then click on Materials and Stats. Here you will find all the different defensive, offensive, and miscellaneous stats, what they all mean, as well as how they work. For example, critical hits deal a base bonus damage of 50% on top of the normal damage, whereas overpower hits basically do the same thing, but they also gain even more damage based on how much health you have at the time the overpower hit occurs. The more health, the more damage. Once you've read up on all the stats, you should get a good idea of which stats you ought to look out for on your armor and weapons. To determine whether the stats rolled on your equipment are the best possible, you'll want to go to Game Options in the menu and turn on Advanced Tooltip Information as well as Advanced Tooltip Compare. With these toggled on, you get a lot more useful information for gear. It will list the various stats and bonuses for each as usual, but in addition, it will show what the possible bonus for each stat could have been in grayed out brackets to the right of each stat. So in this example, these boots grant a plus 19 bonus to intelligence, and that the intelligence bonus could have been as low as plus 12 and as high as plus 19. In other words, the intelligence bonus on these boots is as high as it could possibly be. On the other hand, the mana cost reduction could have been anywhere from 3.6% to 7.2%, and it wound up on the lower end at 3.6%. This even goes for aspects on legendary items. For example, the aspect on this ring causes the wearer to deal 7.9% increased damage for each second they stand still, up to a maximum of 30%. We see that the increased damage for each second standing still could have been as low as 3%, but as high as 10%, so 7.9% is near the middle. We also see that the maximum bonus damage this aspect can provide is always 30%. With all of that information, it will quickly become clear that finding truly good items is extremely rare. Not only do you want to find items with desirable stats, but you also want high rolls on all of those stats. Because of this, you should mainly be saving gold up for making good items, not upgrading the mediocre ones that you have at the blacksmith. Upgrading items at the blacksmith is expensive, and while it will make a really good item even better, it won't do much to improve an item that has undesirable stats on it. There are a few ways to make good items, such as re-rolling stats, imprinting aspects, and adding gem sockets, but all of that costs gold and materials, so make sure to save it up. Let's talk more about the first way to make better items, which is through item enchantment. This can be done at the Occultist starting at level 15. Enchantment allows you to reroll one of the stats on an item to get a more desirable stat. For example, this staff is pretty good. Both the plus 20 to all stats and the plus 20 vulnerable damage are great for my Frost Sorcerer. However, I don't have a lot of damage over time spells, so I want to replace the bonus of that stat through enchantment. My two options are critical strike damage and intelligence. As a sorcerer, I went with intelligence and turned this good staff into an excellent one. Something else to note is that once you select a stat to reroll on an item, you can only reroll that stat, and it costs more gold each time you do it. You can also reroll a stat on a legendary item through enchantment, but this requires a rare material that is only obtainable in World Tier 3 or higher. So we got a really good rare staff, but now we can make it legendary. This is through the imprinting process, also at the Occultist NPC. When you imprint a rare item with an aspect, it will convert it from rare to legendary quality. When you imprint a legendary item with an aspect, it will replace the previous aspect on that legendary item. You can replace the aspect on a legendary item as many times as you want, but the replaced aspects are permanently lost. You can either use an aspect that you extracted from a legendary item for imprinting, or you can use one of the lesser aspects from the Codex of Power, which are earned by completing dungeons. Extracting an aspect from a legendary item costs a fair bit of gold and also destroys the legendary item. In addition, an extracted aspect from a legendary item is consumed when used for imprinting, whereas the aspects in the Codex of Power can be used repeatedly. The trade-off is that aspects that were extracted from legendary items are more powerful than those from the Codex of Power. They also require less gold and materials to imprint with. Aspects are very powerful, but one limitation is that the effects of any specific aspect does not stack when it is imprinted on multiple equipped items. In that scenario, the aspect with the best stats will be active, and the remaining copies will be inactive. Another limitation of aspects that you will need to plan for is that the aspect type determines which types of gear it can be imprinted onto. Offensive aspects can only be imprinted onto weapons, gloves, amulets, and rings. Meanwhile, defensive aspects are limited to helms, chest armor, pants, and amulets. There are also resource utility and mobility aspects, each with their own item specificities. So ideally, you acquire a bundle of unique aspects of various types that are all beneficial to your class and build. Here are all the different aspects that I used for a Frost Sorcerer build. Finally, if you imprint an aspect on an amulet, its power is increased by 50%, and if you imprint an aspect on a two-handed weapon, its power is increased by 100%. One last note about aspects is that imprinted aspects cannot be extracted. So if you have a really good extracted aspect, you should save it and only put it on an equally good item. This is also a reason why you should keep all legendary items that come with additional copies of the aspects you are using. Eventually, you may need another copy of an aspect to put on a new piece of gear. This next part is all about processing items. First, if you find a legendary or rare item with really good stats, then you should definitely keep it to use. But let's talk about if that is not the case. The top priority goes to any legendary item with a good aspect but bad stats. For those, you'll want to extract the aspect for imprinting. Then, for any other item, if it will give a new transmogrification style or if you need the materials from it, then it should be salvaged. If none of the above applies to a particular item, then selling it for gold is the best bet. One easy way to get aspects for specific gear categories is by purchasing specific gear types from the Purveyor of Curiosities. The Purveyor only accepts Murmuring Obols, which drop upon completion of local events. Gear bought from the Purveyor has a fairly high chance of being legendary, so if you need a legendary aspect for a specific gear category, then buying gear in that category from the Purveyor is a good way to get suitable aspects. Murmuring Obols can also be used to purchase the keys that open silent chests found in the open world. The jeweler becomes accessible at level 20 and can do several things. First off, the jeweler can add gem sockets to any of your items. Doing so will consume a scattered prism, which will always drop from a world boss, but they can also be found rarely from the chests you get upon completing a local event. In any case, they are rare, so it's a good idea to only add gem sockets to the best items. When you do, make sure you upgrade your lower quality gems through the jeweler before you socket them into your gear. The jeweler can also remove socketed gems for a small price. Let's end by talking about world bosses. They only spawn at specific times in the open world and then disappear a short time thereafter. In the case of Ashava, it is 15 minutes. If you are not exactly sure when or where a world boss spawns, just check the world map occasionally. An icon and timer will appear at the location a world boss spawns 30 minutes before it appears. Additionally, a large portal will be present at that location in the minutes leading up to the boss's arrival. The world boss is high level, high damage, and very tanky. Upon defeat, it will drop several legendary items along with at least one scattered prism. The first time you defeat a world boss, you'll get a grand cache containing additional legendary items. If you have any other useful tips for new players, please share them in the comments. If you want to see more great content, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat, her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Thursday, and as always, thanks for watching.